Hey, Brandon here, and this is channeled advice on the week ahead for July 22nd through the 28th, Monday the 22nd through Sunday the 28th. I have channel messages that came through ahead of time from my spirit guides, the angels, and source, and I'll also be flowing with any additional information that they'd like to bring through or that my intuition brings my way fully for your highest good here. So let's see what would be best to throw your way today regarding all this. The first thing they'd like me to get to here, there was kind of like a main theme for the week that I kind of asked about. Like, is there a good main theme we could talk about? And interestingly enough, the thing I got was the word relax and a message about, well, I'll just read it. Find time to relax and change your energies around situations. So, an example could be like if you have a situation where you typically go into a lot. Well, I'm going to get the best wording from them. So think about like work. Like if you have a lot of work to do you usually just get like really stressed and try to like rah, and like white knuckle your way through it? Or can you like relax into it and be like, okay, I can do a lot of work in a relaxed state instead of being like super stressed about it and trying to get everything done and rushing around and making all these mistakes. So that's part of what they mean when it comes to like changing your energy around a situation. For some reason, they want me to give this example as well. Like when it comes to money, some people talk about like if you typically are in a really bad mood or place whenever you have to go pay a bill, for example, or look at certain financial things, like can you do something to get into a different state while you're doing it? So, you know, can you put on some music that you love or like dance a little bit to kind of change your energies and get into a good place? And then you look at the bill and it kind of just changes your energy towards those things. And that can change the situation if you're changing your energies around a certain topic. I realize I'm kind of the example I gave and what I'm also trying to convey, like they kind of overlap, but I realize this goes a little bit broader and perhaps deeper than the example I gave. So, in some ways, a different way I could phrase it could be examining your energies and your approach when it comes to a topic like money. I think that's one that can be really polarizing and triggering for people. So I think it's a good example. Like money in general, like do you tend to judge money? Do you tend to fear money? Do you tend to be afraid of having money for some reason? And it's like when you start to change those things in your energies regarding money, you can, I guess you could say, attract it in, receive it in, bring it in more easily, typically. So they're saying you guys get it. I just want to rephrase one more time or reiterate one more time. Like, I would definitely do your best to find some time to relax or find ways to relax maybe in things that you don't normally relax in this week, if you can, if that makes sense, just as a way to start to change your energies around certain things. So hopefully you understand what they're kind of talking about there. The next thing they want me to get to is the first thing they brought through, which is they show me a vampire bats. And this is about moving away from what drains you, but also moving away from things that are wasting your time. And you could also look at this in an emotional angle, which is something they brought through as far as like, are there things that are like, this might sound obvious, but emotionally draining to you that don't need to be there, or like waste your time emotionally, but it's like it's around a topic that you don't actually need to worry about. So I realize I'm getting into like a bunch of stuff at once, but since we just left off on that emotional thing, like maybe you're constantly watching social media and there's all these people who are like being mean to each other and giving a bunch of opinions, or they're saying, oh, the world's going to crap. But if like you check it intuitively, you're like, that's not what I get about the world, actually. I get that it's actually just transforming and we're in definitely a bit of a transformation period. But my world actually really good. It's actually really peaceful and full of joy. And I'm actually in a really good place. But it's like whenever I start looking at everyone else and what their opinions are, what their assumptions are, then all of a sudden I start to feel dragged down, or maybe you even start to feel wrong for that. But if you didn't even put your attention and focus on that in the first place, it wouldn't be dragging you down. So that could be something you could potentially spend less time around if you notice like that always puts you in like a stressed or like a worried or like a fear-based place when you didn't have to be there in the first place, and your world could be a lot better if like that influence wasn't even there, or you just had less of it. So I don't feel like I'm getting this through in the exact way they want me to, so I'm going to come back to what they'd like me to do here. let me to read what came through. So let's just do that, and then we'll circle back to it if we need to. So move away from what drains you, and move away from what wastes your time. Consider measuring your time so you can figure out what you're wasting time on and cut those things out. This message also applies to things like emotions such as worry, strife, etc. Are you unnecessarily worried about things, and that's wasting your time and space in your life, or even your capacity to enjoy your life, and focus on things you'd like to focus on, even do things you'd like to do. So they kind of gave a similar example, like if you're constantly watching social media and it's stressing you out, or it's painting a false picture of the world that's making you stressed when you didn't even have to be in that state or be exposed to that in the first place, or if you didn't even have to be in those emotions, like if you saw the truth of the situation, you'd be like, no, we don't need to react like that. Like, so it's kind of cutting those things away that are wasting your time, your energy, and your space for yourself based on your emotional realm, especially regarding like unnecessary triggers. So number 2 here, elephant. So I guess the advice for this week, if we were going to summarize that for the number 1 thing, is cutting out the unnecessary crap that's wasting space and time for you and energy. Number 2, they show me an elephant, and there's just a straight up message. Like, there are a lot of obstacles being removed right now, which is great. And there was also a side message of like, if you are feeling blocked, like if you have like a main objective, or at least to your mind, a main objective that you're trying to accomplish, and it feels jammed or like stuck, which for most of you it won't, which is good. However, if you do feel stuck, like, is there something you can do to help yourself, or another area you can focus on to change things around, change your energy, maybe improve things so that you're ready to move forward with this main objective when it's time? Like, self-care is maybe, well, it's an example that's showing up for me here. Like, if you have a business you're trying to succeed at and you're putting all this time and energy into it, but then the laundry's piling up and you're not sleeping enough and your diet's falling away, it's like, okay, maybe it's time to look at the things that will help you now so that you're in a better place to tackle this other thing in the future. Or it's just time to look at what's going to help you right now if something feels a little bit stuck right now. So pay attention to that and look at what you can do. Yeah, look at what you can do. So anything else on that before we move forward here? I am also getting a side message, like, a lot of your obstacles will be removed if you are taking care of self-care and taking care of you, in addition to doing some of the things you need to do that might be a bit more practical to move things forward, if you will. So anything else? Number 3 here, the next thing, they show me a dragonfly, and they were kind of showing me how well, I'll just get the message out. A lot of sudden redirection energy is the main message here. So there is a lot redirecting, a lot of sudden turns the universe is making, or maybe even curveballs, which could be positive, by the way. Like, positive curveballs could be really positive surprises that kind of change your situation. And you're like, oh, I thought I was going to have to deal with this whole rigmarole, and I just don't. Something just took care of it. So things like that can happen. And there might be things that are like a change in direction for you, but I'd really just receive that and roll with that, because the universe is really pulling out all the stops to redirect everything in the best directions for this crowd, is what I'm getting, which is cool. So be willing to receive that. And you could think, dragonflies, they're very good at maneuvering in the air. They can turn really quickly. They can make some really profound maneuvers and turns when it comes to how they do their things. So that's part of where they're pulling from, I guess, with the intuitive message or symbolism around dragonfly here. Next, with number 4, they showed me dragon, but they showed the dragon scales. And it was, the words they gave me were protected from fire. I guess like in most stories that feature dragons, the dragon scales typically make them pretty well defended when it comes to fire, like a dragon's fiery breath, you could say. However, this one is saying you are divinely protected as you move forward, and you are divinely protected as you shine or take the limelight or center stage or anything like that. So don't worry about stepping into the limelight. You are fine. Could be a message that might not be for every single one of you, but those of you who are putting yourself out there or are nervous about putting yourself out there in some way, could be on social media, could be like a meeting at a job or a presentation you're giving, or could be in school if you're in school and you have to give a talk or something like that. It's safe for you to shine. And, another thing that's hitting me as I'm talking about this is this could apply to abundance, where sometimes we are worried about what people will think about us if we have a lot of abundance or, again, like a lot of money, for example. And that can be something that holds people back unnecessarily. And I know I've said this before. However, you having a lot of abundance or money or whatever it is that you'd like to have, or whatever this is might be pinging on for you as we're talking about it, that does set an example where it's like it will show other people it's okay to have that thing. And even if other people do get jealous, that is a moment for them where they can learn that their life is not exactly how they'd like it to be. And if they take that moment where they realize they're jealous as something that they're being signaled to become aware of, and they sit with it and they realize, oh, I'm jealous of that person having that thing because I'm actually holding myself back financially for whatever reason, and I'd actually like to have a better financial position. And it really opens up a possibility for them to choose something different and create something new for themselves that could make things better for them in their world, and maybe even the world and everyone else around them, through the domino effect of it all, if they choose that. But it's not on you to try to control how they react or control what they choose to do once that moment, that's teaching moment, I guess, but that moment of awareness they could have around the jealousy is presented to them, because they could also just choose to be jealous and not investigate and just be mad about it, when that could be the thing that changes their life for the better for the rest of their life if they really just sit with it for a second, and that could be something that redirects them. So I know that's not where I was thinking this would go, but please know that you are divinely protected as you maneuver forward in your life, as you step out to shine in some way, as you step out to, if you're going to put yourself in the limelight, put yourself in the limelight, or if you're looking to receive or have things in your life. So next thing they showed me was, this is number 5 here, a watermelon, and the message was to move towards what is sweet. So move towards the things that light you up and bring you joy. Consciously schedule time for peace and tranquility. Move away from the things that waste your time and drain you. I guess they're going to hammer on that message a little bit more. So let me see what they'd like to. I mean, it's pretty self explanatory. I think sometimes we just forget we can do things that bring us joy, or we can schedule time for more peace for ourselves, or we can, I guess, take control or make different choices to steer our life in a direction that's going to bring us more of what we'd like to have. And, even like a 20% difference, I'm not going to limit you and say that that's all you're going to be able to handle, but even like a 20% difference could be make or break, or could be, that sounded a little bit intense. I'm not sure if make or break was the right way to phrase that, but it could be something that makes a really big change for you and really changes your life over time. I guess if you were to think about it this way, if your life were 20% different every day, or even 20% different every week, especially moving in a specific direction, like if your life were 20% more joyful every day, like you'd be in a lot of joy in not too much time. So, and sometimes we really only need small shifts to have our life be a lot better and more in a direction that we'd like it to be. And sometimes it'll take really big things. So don't discount the little things you can do to bring yourself more joy or more peace. And just because you might feel like you can't, for example, start a business that's going to make you $1 million tomorrow, doesn't mean you can't do things that are going to start to bring the shifts you'd like to see now, that they might pay off right away. Maybe it's something that's more long term. It's just a reminder as well to make sure your life is something that you enjoy along the way through your journey in life. As the reminder often goes, like, there's a bunch of examples popping into my head. The main gist of what I'm trying to get to is there are so many people who do end up dying young. They don't make it to 80, 90, 100 years old. And the story that was popping into my head was this one I read online a while ago, where because there's a lot of movements towards retiring early through different sorts of investing that can spit off income. And if you put enough away and invest enough, you'll get enough money out of those investments without losing the money you invested, that you can live off of that income, which actually probably a really good idea for a certain number of people in general to try. And I think it's a great idea. And I think the more we have freedom like that, and the more we have people living a life they'd like to live that's in a whatever abundance is for them, whether that's freedom of time, freedom of financial freedom, freedom of choice to do what they'd like to do. I think that has a great impact for real. And at the same time, there are people who put so much focus into that and just putting money away and saving money and just like deferring all vacations, deferring all pleasure time because they'd be working extra to get more money to put away to retire. And then they'd die like maybe 5 years before they were going to retire early, or they die before they really got to enjoy any of that. So this isn't about getting rid of all your long-term plans like that. And it's not about never preparing or planning for the future or saving for a retirement if that's your plan or whatever. It's more about like, are you at least enjoying your life enough now that if you died tomorrow, you'd be like, yeah, it was pretty good. Or like, I'm glad that I made the choices that I made up till this point. And if not, now might be the time to look into changing things. And there's an energy I'm picking up from you guys watching this, and I want to make sure I'm picking up on this accurately, because it seems like some of you might be angry because your circumstances seem more like you're at the behest of them and you don't have a different choice to make, and you're stuck like this and you can't enjoy your life because XYZ is happening to you. And I understand if that's you, and that in and of itself is probably an awareness you're getting that you need to make some changes and change things, because you're not powerless in your life. You have choices somewhere where you can start to rearrange things, even if there's small choices that are just the next step you can make to have a bit more space for yourself in your life and a bit more breathing room. And it might take a compounding path of different choices to get you to a place where you feel like you're not at the whim of things, or like you can't enjoy your life. And like, sure, sometimes maybe we're going through something that's a learning experience for us so that we're prepared for a path we're meant to take later on. That's a part of our destiny. If we're meant to be a healer for a lot of people, or something like that. And like, I understand that too. At the same time, I'm going to put it your way that we're not as powerless as we think. We can manifest change. We can get things going in a different direction with a momentum towards different things. So please don't hear this and hear me talking about this. And I mean, you can get mad. That's fine. You're allowed to do whatever reactions are coming up. That's a good thing to be aware of, and maybe even dig into, like, oh, why is this showing up? Why am I mad? Do I have a victim mentality about my life where I feel like I can't choose things that'll bring me joy, or and I know, like, if you go through a big loss or something like that might take some time where you move through the grief before you're ready to allow in more joy or peace. And that's okay too. So, but take this however it's resonating for you and consider it. And you don't have to buy it outright, but in general, can you start to move things towards the life you'd like to have that has more joy, has more of the things that light you up, that, yeah, it's just going to be what you would like to experience, because you have this one life, you have this one incarnation as you with this exact experience, and I would rather you not let it go to waste is kind of what I'm trying to get out to you. And you could say, if you do spend too much time, which is not going to be all of you, in a victim state where you're not even allowing yourself to see that you do have choice in your current circumstances to start to change things, or you do have things that you can do, or over time you'll be able to shift things or call things in or manifest things, then you might end up wasting a good amount of time you don't need to waste in a victim mentality, thinking you can't change things. And when you could have been moving it a certain direction all along. So it wasn't the perfect message. I feel like you get the gist, and I want to sit with them and see if there's anything else they'd like to say to help you out with all that before we move on here. So, I guess for the people who are going through things like that are watching this, like if you do feel stuck, let's go back to the earlier message. Like, what can you do to help yourself right now? What can you do to move certain areas of your life? And like, what do you need to prioritize to start to move the energies and shift your frequency to change things, etc. So they're saying you guys get it. We can move on now. And I did take much longer on that than I was expecting. Uh, the last message here that came through ahead of time was just be gentle on you. You deserve grace. None of what I was said was meant to get you to beat up on yourself or think you're wrong or bad or bad at life or anything like that. It was supposed to be a kick in the pants to get you to move your life in a direction you'd like it to go towards and to get you to an experience you'd like to have. So they're done with this. And so I hope this helped, resonated to whatever was for your highest good. And I'm wishing you well. I hope you have a great week. I will see you in another video in the future.